Good afternoon, students. Hope you're well. And today we're going to talk about the passive, and we're going to look at some inventions as well. So last time we looked at the passive with the present tense. Today we're going to look at the passive with the past tense. And then we're also going to make some questions using the passive. So first of all, let's have a look at our old friends, the Professor and Chip. Okay, students, open page 110 in your class book so we can read the dialogue together. Okay.
Listening 94. Listen and read. What has Chip done?
Chip, you were invented to cook and clean. You should be busy.
But, Professor, there's nothing left to do. The house was cleaned this morning, the floors were washed, the shopping was done, and the lunch was made.
How? Who by?
By my new machine. I used your time machine to make it, and it works. I'm an inventor now.
Okay, now let's read it together. I'll be the part of Professor and you play the part of Chip. Chip, you were invented to cook and clean. You should be busy. How? Who by? Wow, so Chip's been really busy making a cool machine there to do all his work. Okay, this time you play the part of the Professor and I'll be Chip. But Professor, there's nothing left to do. The house was cleaned this morning, the floors were washed, the shopping was done, and the lunch was made. By my new time machine. I used your time machine to make it, and it works. I'm an inventor now. So let's look at the grammar today. We have the passive using the past simple. To make the passive with the past simple, we use was or were, the past form of the verb to be, plus the past participle, that's the verb free. So there are three forms of verbs, 1, 2 and 3, present, past simple and past participle. So you were invented to cook and clean. And then we have an example, the active. My new machine did the shopping. The shopping was done by my new machine. So when we change it to passive, the shopping becomes the subject, and we use the past participle, the verb to do, which is done. So we have do, did and done. So let's look at another example here. Past passive. Many people wrote the Bible. So the past tense of write is wrote. So this one is the active one. Now if I want to make it passive, I put the Bible now as my subject, because maybe that should be the most important thing in my sentence. The Bible was written by many people. Okay, so I have to change the verb to the verb free to you in the passive. When I used the past active, it was verb to. Now, if I change the subject, okay, and I make it plural, I put the books were. So now the books were written by many people. So the books of the Bible is plural. So I have to use were with plural nouns. Don't forget that one. Now in your book, look at exercise 3. So the first one is already done. This photo was taken by my dad. So it's a passive sentence. So we need the verb to be and the verb free. So that's why we have was taken. Number 2, I was invited all my friends to my birthday party. So do you think we need the active or the passive there? So let's have a look what the answer is. I invited all my friends to my birthday party. So if I wanted to change that to passive, many friends were invited to my birthday party, obviously by me. But that sounds a little bit awkward, and so they use the active there. So sometimes it's not really sensible to use the passive unless there's a good reason. This picture was painted by a famous artist. Now, when things can't paint themselves or do something themselves, then we need to have the passive. So the picture was painted by a famous artist. Jenny was sent her cousin an email yesterday. What do you think about that one? Well, Jenny can send things, so we don't need the passive. So Jenny sent her cousin an email yesterday. It's okay. The children were given lots of homework last week. Okay, so do children give themselves homework? No, of course not. It's teachers who give them homework. So we need the passive there. The children are plural, so were given lots of homework. Mike was scored a goal in the football match. Well, Mike can score. He doesn't need someone to do it for him. So active is okay there. Now in exercise 4, we have to write in the form of the verb we need. So it says use the past simple passive this time. So they're all passive. You might need to look at page 119 in the back of the book for the irregular verb list, because we need the verb free, the past participle. So 2 statues. What do you think, was or were? Is it singular or plural? Yes, it's plural, so it's were. And we need the verb free of steal. Can you check in your irregular verb list if you don't know? Is it stole? No. It's stolen. So let's have a look. 2 statues were stolen from the museum last night. Okay, that's a big news there. Okay, the Eiffel Tower. Is that singular or plural? It's singular. There's only one Eiffel Tower. So this time we will need was. And then we need the past participle of build. You can check in your irregular verb list if you don't remember. The Eiffel Tower was built in 1889. That's funny. I went to see the Eiffel Tower in 1989, 100 years after it was built. Our house. So how many houses do we have? Just one, yeah? So it's singular. And then we need the verb 3 of decorate. So our house was decorated last year. And then these books, we got plural, they're books, so were. And then if you just remember what I told you about the Bible, when we were, who wrote the Bible, the verb 3 is written, were written. Don't forget it's double T with the spelling, yeah? And then the last one, I, so it's singular, I was, yeah? And the verb 3 of teach, it's not teached, it's taught. I was taught to ride a bike when I was 5. Page 111.